Hey, if you're thinking about starting a food cart business, this video is going to walk you through the startup costs that you can expect, the potential revenue, how much sales can you generate from a food cart, what are your common food costs, labor costs, and just common operating expenses for a food cart, and then ultimately, how much profit can a single food cart generate? And we have written a detailed blog post that walks through this, as well as a food cart financial projection template that I'm going to walk you through and show you how you can enter in your own assumptions and create a set of food cart financial projections for your own business. My name's Adam Huxema, and I'm the co-founder of ProjectionHub, and we've helped thousands of companies, entrepreneurs create financial projections as they're starting their business just for internal planning or to try to get a startup loan or raise some money from an investor. And so in this video, I'm just going to walk you through this exact process and hopefully answer a lot of the questions that you have as you think about starting this business. And the template here that I'm using, you can find in the description of the video below. And let's jump in. About all of our financial projection templates is that any cell that's highlighted in blue is a cell or an assumption that you can change without breaking the template. And so I've got this kind of pre-filled out, this template pre-filled out based on our own research and kind of a standard food cart setup. So we have this setup starting month January of 2022. We're assuming a personal investment that you're going to put in $5,000 of your own money to get this started. And we're assuming here that accounts receivable, so this would mean that you get paid 100% of your sales right when you provide the food. So you're not like invoicing customers and waiting to get paid. So we're assuming 100% right when you provide the product. And we assume about $1,000 of starting out inventory that you would have on hand. Now, based on our research, you could spend a lot or a little on a food cart, and depending on what you're looking for. But we put in an assumption here of a $5,000 food cart that we've entered it here in the fixed asset section. And we put that as starting in month 0. So this is in month 0 of the projection. Kind of before the projection even starts, you need to have the food cart in place. So that's why we have month 0 there. Now we have the ability for you to add a loan in here, and we would recommend that you consider doing that to help with some of your ongoing and initial startup costs. So far we've said we've got $5,000 required for a food cart and $1,000 for initial inventory. There's probably going to be some other permits, licenses, and other startup costs. And based on our research, I'll show you from the blog post that we wrote here, some of your other expenses, permits, maybe $600, marketing, $500, parking and cleaning the cart, $500, and then miscellaneous, $500 for a total startup cost of that $5,100 to $8,100 is what you can expect. And so you might need a little bit of a loan. And let me jump back in here. Let's say this is family loan, and we're going to borrow $5,000 from family for 60 months at 7%. And that should get you your startup funding there. Now let's jump into the input revenue tab. So the big question is how much can a food cart generate in sales? And so we have put in here some different assumptions, and we're saying that we're assuming you can be booked twice per day on a weekday and once on a weekend, and that will kind of help us figure out how many events the food cart could have. So you could have, and I'll show you this in a second, you'll have just street food revenue where you just have the cart on the street and people are coming by and picking up food, right? But you could also, if your cart is mobile enough, which is kind of the idea of the cart, you could have special event catering where you would show up and provide food there. So that's what we have here. We're assuming that you can do 10, maximum of 10 events per month with, initially, we're just assuming one event per month. And then down here, this is kind of the breakdown where you can put what are your typical events. So you have maybe a small, medium, and large event, and how many people would you be serving at a small, medium, and large event? Do you charge an initial booking fee? So you might say our flat fee of $300 just to show up at the event, and then you're going to have some sort of revenue per person that you serve at the event. So we're saying $8 for a small event, $8 per person with a $3 food cost. And the event lasts on average 3 hours. And you have a total labor cost of $21 per hour for that. So maybe that's 2 staff. Maybe it's 2, minimum wage staff, or maybe one higher paid staff at that $21 per hour. And then over here, you can pick the percentage of the total catering events that are either small, medium, or large. That will give you, all of that will end up giving you this average revenue per catering event. So that's probably going to be a small portion of your food cart revenue. Probably the main business will be just having your cart on the street, right? And so we're saying that 75% of the time your cart is available to be booked, just out on the street. We're saying that you're open 4 hours per day on the weekdays, 4 hours on the weekends, maybe a couple hours for lunch, a couple hours for dinner, that sort of thing. And then the maximum number of customers served per hour. So this is a key question. How many people can you serve per hour? And so if you're the only one at the cart, staffing the cart, you really want to be sure that you can actually provide, take orders, prepare the food, and accept payment all yourself. So that would be an average of 2 minutes per customer. So be sure of that and make sure you put in the right number there. And this really probably depends on what kind of food you're serving and how much prep time it takes to actually prepare the food. All right, so here we'll say the maximum customers served per hour is 30, but let's say the average customers that you're actually serving per hour during your open hours, your 4 open hours, is 15 per hour. So that's what we have in here as a default, with an average spend per customer of $10. Average food cost per customer, $3, and then your labor cost of $20. And so again, this needs to be kind of depends on if you're the only one, if it's just you, the owner, you own the food cart and you're working the cart the whole time and you don't have any staff, you could put 0 in here. But if you do have staff that's helping you, or maybe someone taking orders and you're preparing the food, then you want to make sure you get that labor expense in there as well. And based on that, you're going to have your total street food revenue and special catering event revenue and your cost of goods sold. Now jumping into just our other operating expenses. We have here a few different standard operating expenses like your accounting fees, credit card fees. So here we are assuming, you can see this is a percentage of total revenue, 2% of total revenue. So some people are going to pay you with cash probably, but some people are going to pay with credit card, and credit card fees might be 3% total, but since some people pay you with cash, we're assuming 2%, 0.02, so 2% of total revenue will go to credit card fees. So just make sure you understand how to enter that in. And then we've got a storage rental cost if you store the cart somewhere of $250 a month. And then fuel or generator, or if you're keeping the food warm or cold, you're probably going to have some sort of fuel or cost there. And then other supplies, key expenses here. So that's, and you have the ability to add more expenses here as you go as well. And then on the input salaries, we just have the owner operator taking a $50,000 salary here. We have that entered in. And ultimately, we can jump over here to the at a glance tab, this profit and loss at a glance, and we'll show you what your projected revenue is based on the assumptions that we have, the projected cost of goods sold, operating expenses, and ultimately that net income of $91,000. Now, that's a high performing food cart. And so I think, some of the key things to take a look at, one thing I would just mention as I looked through this, that $10 average spend per customer. Are people going to spend $10 for something that you can prepare in theory in 2 minutes, right? So probably if you have a product that you can prepare really fast and serve more customers, it's because it's probably a lower cost item. So that might be one thing to take a look at and just be really sure about what you think you can get as an average spend per customer. But for a high performing food cart, these kind of results could be possible if you're really going after it. So we have a number of different tables and graphs, and then ultimately an income statement, projected cash flow, projected balance sheet by year, and then a monthly income statement, monthly cash flow, and monthly balance sheet. So again, this is for a food cart. Now, if you're doing something more like a food truck or a food trailer, this template can work for that as well. And actually, this is our food truck template. I've just adjusted it a bit. And if you buy the template in the description, the link below, you actually get access to both our food truck and this food cart template as well. So if you have any questions about how to fill this out, leave us a comment in the description or in the comment section of the video below, and or reach out to us directly at support@projectionhub.com. Thanks.